Hello, you beautiful listener. Welcome back to the Creative Connection podcast, which is, of course, the podcast that delves into creativity as a whole. It goes into looking at people's different creative processes. Each episode has a different guest on, so we really delve into the industries and how each person kind of interacts with creativity as a whole. So what their creative process is like, kind of how they got into that industry, how they experience creativity, and how that's kind of affected them and their careers and where they've ended up, etc. It's like a big introspective open conversation with someone with creativity being like the crux of said conversation. I'm the one and only, your boy, the host, Jared Emsee, and oh my gosh, do I have an episode for you today. Thoroughly enjoyed it, solid conversation, a lot of laughs, probably too many laughs. But definitely a genuinely interesting conversation, and it got a little bit deep towards the end as well. Maybe there's some good, insightful advice for you. Potentially not, but you're going to have to listen to find out. That's just, that's the nature of a teaser, isn't it? I've teased you into it. You're going to find out. Hopefully, you'll find it insightful and you'll enjoy it. But the whole podcast is great. So it's with Seviour, and she's a designer. I've worked with her a lot of times before. We went to school together, but we've worked with her on logos and stuff. So whenever I have a big project, and I need to make a cool logo, I'll go to Ella first, because I know that she's going to absolutely smash it. And that's actually the case. This artwork of the podcast you're listening to right now was designed by Ella. So I got in contact with her. I knew I was doing this project, and I was like, hey, listen, I want a really cool artwork. I think you'll be great to do it. And then I realized that is going to involve a creative process. So what if I brought Ella on the podcast and kind of pitched my ideas, and we kind of started the creative process actually live on the podcast. So this episode is kind of us exploring the idea as well as delving into her creative process, how she does it. Currently studying at Northumbria, which is a design for industry course, which she's thoroughly enjoying. She did like a daily logo challenge thing a while ago, where she stretched herself to try and create a new logo every day, and I saw them, and they were very impressive. There's no denying Ella is sick at what she does, and I was really excited to talk to her, and hopefully you're going to enjoy the concomitant conversation. I think you're gonna. So I will leave you. I'll meet you around the back for a little sign off. Enjoy the podcast with Ella. Ella, thank you for being here. I'm excited. How are you feeling?
Thank you for having me. I'm good, thank you.
You're more than welcome. So I usually ask my guests, so it's kind of like an icebreaker for me, but for the audio listeners, to be like, how would you describe yourself in terms of that profession? What label would you give yourself?
I think designer is what I would call myself.
A designer, an overall designer. Because hold on, I'll put it in my notes, didn't I? You're studying at Northumbria? You're doing a degree of some sort, designing degree?
Yeah, my degree is called Design for Industry. It's very much like a jack of all trades title. Yeah. So I feel like designer can cover lots of different things.
So what does that entail? Like prop design and logos and shit? What are you saying?
Yeah, so we get set different briefs. Everything from product design to interactive design, service design, and then where we take that initial design is up to us. So we can do everything from the branding, the marketing, logos, as you say.
Do you have like a favorite? What's your favorite thing to do design wise? Or do you not have one?
I don't know. I like the making thing. So I like working in a workshop. I like sketching. Sometimes if I'm in the right mindset, I love sitting on the computer and making digital artwork. Yeah. But I think like the things I struggle with most is CAD. Like my brain just does not work in that way. So it's like it means computer aided design. Yeah. And it's basically using software to make 3D things on the computer, and you can use that to make files to send to 3D printers. Oh, cool. And manufacturing.
Oh, let's 3D print some stuff. You want to 3D print some stuff?
See, that's what everybody thinks, and they're like, oh my god, it's so cool, that's the future. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that, I don't like that design. Oh. But I'm working on it. It's on my bucket list to get good at.
I think that's important, because then we can design some cool shit. Yeah. You like that? What do you think is your favorite thing you've ever designed? Coming straight out of the box with some hard hitting questions.
That is a really good question.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate the support. Makes me feel real warm inside.
Oh, I haven't a clue.
Like what about physical thing? What's like the coolest physical thing you've designed?
We did a brief last year, which was all about design language. So if you were to pick up a product, how would you know how to hold it, which way it faced, what to press buttons? And in this brief, we had to do a non-literal product. So it meant that this product didn't actually have a meaning or a use. You just knew how it would work if it did.
That's really cool.
And I think that was really cool.
How does that even, like, I feel like how do you even explain that? Can you try and explain that product? I don't know how that would work. So say you had like a CD player. Yeah.
But more often than not, people are just pressing random buttons because they don't know how it's designed badly. It's designed to look good, but not for function. Whereas if you had a CD player where it was a clear button and that button made a noise when you pressed it, gave feedback, you would know you needed to press that button. Whereas if it's just flat, you're like, oh my God, how do I work this? Clicking and things like that.
I've never really thought about stuff like a toothbrush, for example.
Yeah.
You look at a toothbrush and I know how that works.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about that someone has done that in a way so it's obvious.
Yeah. So like doors, whether if a door is designed badly because if you don't know whether to push or pull it.
That's one of my biggest gripes in the world. I hate it. Why do people put fucking like handles on a push door? They put pull handles on a push door and it annoys me so. Why do they do that?
I know.
It's like, okay, you want to push a door, you put a pad on it. People know they've got to push a pad. Why are people putting handles on push doors? Because every time I walk into it.
It's called, there's a book called I think it's the Design of Every Day, and it covers lots of subjects like that. It's really interesting. Yeah.
It annoys me. So is there more things that would annoy me?
Yeah,
that people are just designing wrong. Because that one is a real pet peeve of mine. Like
if light switches are fit upside down, you don't know if it's on or off. Things like that.
I don't use that. I'm in the technology. My light switch is my mobile phone on my voice.
Oh, wow.
This is 2018, baby.
That's interesting. I don't know. There's all sorts. I think good design gets taken for granted, whereas the second something's designed badly, you're going to know about it.
Yeah, I feel like I've never really thought about. Also, what is the deal with revolving doors, actually? What is the deal with revolving doors? I always get my head stuck in them.
I got my little brother's head stuck in a revolving door once.
It's easy to do. It's a bad design. I did it twice now.
It's actually to stop cold air coming in, hot air coming out, or whatever. It
doesn't seem like a priority.
Control.
I feel like me getting in a building safely should be the priority.
I mean,
I just always get stuck in them. And a train door, I got stuck in that before, but I feel like that's less easy to do.
I once got my finger caught in the car window.
Oh,
because I still don't know which way the button is.
It's confusing.
Down.
Yeah, that's bad design. No. That's bad design, that is.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just leaning on the window when I'm in a passenger and then someone winds up the window and I'm just not ready and I kind of go with it. Makes me jump.
Excuse me.
It's like, I'm in your car. Okay, that's fine. Jeez. Bad design. So I wanted you here today to come talk to me, not only because obviously you're a great designer, Ella, a great friend of mine. We've studied at school together. You got grumpy during science. I remember those days. Yes, I remember those days.
Me getting grumpy?
No?
Never.
Doesn't sound like you?
No,
okay.
No.
It must have been someone else. That's my bad. But so I wanted to talk to you about designer because I think it's interesting and it's a world that I kind of dabble in, but on a really bad basis. Mm-hmm. Like, I do a lot on my YouTube stuff and my radio stuff. I try and do design work, but I'm not good at it. So I feel like it's really cool to talk to someone who is good at it, like you. But also, because you've made the artwork, because this is coming out in the future, the artwork on the podcast that you can see, if you got this on your phone and you get your phone out right now and you click the home button or whatever it is, you can see the artwork that Ella actually made. And I thought, you're going to do that anyway. kind of do it in a podcast. So we're going to be talking about the process as the process is happening, which I think is really exciting, but also it could go really wrong. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, kind of daunting.
Yeah, it could be a really bad idea, but I think it's going to be really interesting and kind of like an even further insight into the designer minds that we would just get talking about the process, because we can actually see it happening in real time.
Awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. I think it's going to be cool. So I think, where would you start if you were to design a logo, for example, or artwork? I'm calling it artwork. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I'd call this artwork, yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm calling it. Because I was originally, when I texted you, I was going to call it a logo, but I was like, it's not really a logo.
No, I think a logo would be included within artwork. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so where would you start? Would you want to start with me kind of pitching my ideas?
Yeah,
or?
you're the client. You tell me what you want.
So the client approaches you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to work out the entire process from the beginning. So the client approaches you, they want to hire you for something. So presumably you'll set up a meeting and then they'll discuss what they want with you, and then you'll probably like bounce off that. That's kind of the first step.
Yeah. If you were struggling with describing what you'd want, there's key questions that I could ask.
Really? You've got
to
memorize some key questions.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear them because you're going to need them. So, okay, let's talk about the Creative Connection podcast as a whole. We kind of spoke about it ahead of time. Everyone who's listening already knows what it's about, but it's all about like the creative process. It's about conversations with two creatives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm a creative, and then I'm interviewing / having a conversation with another creative, in this case you, all about their industry, who they are, how they got there, their process as a whole, and any kind of like concomitant conversations that occur. So creativity is like a big part of it, and I'm really aware that there's so many veins of creativity, which is why I'm trying to get, for this pilot season, I'm trying to get as many like different creatives as I can, like musicians, comedians, designers, radio presenters, stuff like that. But I kind of really want to incorporate that in the artwork. So I want to incorporate all these different types of creativity and somehow get an artwork that's vibrant, but also encompasses what the podcast is all about, which I think is quite a hard challenge.
See, the second that you describe it to me, I've already got
images. You've already got ideas
flowing in my head. Yeah, I feel like that's part of being a creative. As soon as someone tells you something, you get an idea.
That's it. Yeah, away. Like you just kind of, you're always thinking.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's just like, well, I've got ideas. I know what you want. This is great.
Yeah.
So you've already got some ideas. That's exciting, because what I've done in my spare time is I've drafted up some like preliminary designs.
Mm-hmm.
I think the majority of which are so bad and not good ideas. Also, I can't draw, so they're all like badly drawn, but also I don't think they're good ideas.
Yeah, but you can show me your ideas, and then I'll get ideas from your ideas.
That's it. That's creatives. We bounce off each other.
Yeah.
There's one idea that I really like that I will discuss with you in a minute.
Okay.
This is, again, you're a designer. You can be like, this is shit, and then we can get something really cool that you've come up with. But this is the idea that I had that is like, oh, this is quite a cool idea. I like it.
I feel like it's more like, this is a good idea, but it would be better.
I mean, that's great, but also if it's a bad idea, feel free to just say it's a bad idea.
Okay.
There are no such things as a bad idea unless I do them. Then every single one. Okay, let's have a quick sip. Okay, let's go through these.
Right.
So this is where I think it's going to get confusing for like the audio listeners, because there's only audio listeners. It's not a video podcast, but because we're talking about the creative process that's happening, but this is kind of visual to begin with, so we're gonna have to kind of describe the ideas.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna like delve into this process and try and really like come out of an idea, and then we'd really pick apart your process in the future, etc. And then whatever else happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my page of ideas. Okay, so Creative Connection is the podcast name, and what I've done is for each episode, I've kind of run off the whole email thing, which is like, it means carbon copy, but it's basically CC. So when you CC someone in an email, you're basically adding them in. So what I've done is I've run off that. It's also an initialism, and I've run off that. So each episode is called CC : and then the name. So that's the name of the podcast. For example, this is CC : Seviour. Okay,
That's
get
not
that?
how you pronounce my name.
How do you pronounce your name?
Seviour.
Really?
Yeah.
I've always said Seviour. I've known you for so long, and I've always said that.
I think many people have, but it's okay.
That's fine. It's French, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not French, so you can't. Who are you gonna blame? Yeah. So it's like CC. It's like that whole playing off that email thing, which I think is kind of a bit silly, but kind of cool. So I'm kind of trying to work out how to incorporate that. I tried one with it's like an email, but it looks kind of shit. I did some like weird word art. So this is like creative, which is like arch, and then underneath is arch connection and CC in the middle. So this was just me like trying to dabble with the ideas. And then I had the first one, which I think was like a genuinely alright idea, which is like creative at the top, connection at the bottom, and then in the middle it was kind of like little like what's going on? You have a little burp.
Yeah.
And then the bottom there's kind of like plain white logos. I was thinking, just like, you know what I mean, like the graphics. Like how would you describe that? Like a white logo where it's just like it's really like simple design. And it's just like white and it's like a little graphic.
Yeah, like icons.
Yeah, like icons. So I thought it would be cool to have icons. I've got like a pencil, a camera, there's a film slate, a CD, just some random what I considered creative objects.
Yeah.
So that was like the first idea that I was like, oh, I really like that. That's kind of cool. But I then took that further with the idea that I think is a cool idea that, again, you may discount or say it's shit, or we can develop it, who knows, which is, it's kind of the same. So it's got creative at the top, connection at the bottom. And then in the middle, it's still got the icons, but instead of them just floating there, it's kind of like this cool, like creative looking wormhole. So it's kind of like this cool, like portal. I'm thinking like red and blue, like sparks coming out of it. And it's just got these icons just kind of like floating around in it with like a lot of depth of field and shit, which I think
that perfectly describes like the creative process. It's kind of like you get sucked into this wormhole,
that's
and
it.
Different explosions.
That's it. It's just a lot's happening. It's kind of like, it's like you're getting sucked in and drawn into whatever you're doing, and things are just like flying off everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what I was going with it. I kind of liked the idea, so I did like a shitty little drawing of it. So what do you think about all of that? Where would you, from like, moving on with the creative process?
Okay, so initially I feel like the whole email thing. What does CC stand for in regards to email?
It stands for carbon copy, but I'm hoping that that people were just going to associate it with emails and it'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like a little nod.
I feel like those two things aren't related. You don't want to get confused, people thinking that your podcast is called Carbon Copy or...
That's what I thought, but then I was having this conversation with Greg, who's going to be on the podcast at some point. And no one knows what carbon copy, like no one knows what CC stands for. They just associate it with, for example.
Yeah, but it definitely doesn't mean creative.
No, it doesn't mean that. But the way, context I'm using it is it basically it just means like with or like adding them in. So like if you were to CC someone, you're like adding them into the conversation. And I think colloquially that's kind of what it means, rather than actually just 100% meaning carbon copy.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So have I persuaded you, or do you still?
Yeah, I think it's got the connection part. Like when I start designing, I just use word association. So creative connection, you've got the connection in there, but it's not very creative. I feel like emails are very formal.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Although you do email back and forth within a design process, but I feel like that is my least favorite way. Like
right.
Whenever
it's not the most creative way of communicating.
Yeah. Whenever I'm working with someone, I would much rather talk to them face to face. You can read them, you can show them things. Yeah, emails can.
I get that.
Be quite contrived.
I get that. So I still kind of like it for like the names, but you're thinking ditch CC for like any kind of low artwork shit.
Yeah. Pardon? Can you repeat that?
you had a little moment where you couldn't work out whether to just agree or ask me to repeat it. You just sat there for like 2 seconds trying to work it out. I said, I still like CC : for the actual like name of the podcast.
Yeah,
for like each episode name. I think that still is kind of cool, but you're thinking like don't fuck with CC or any of that email stuff in the actual artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of like have it as like, it's a cool kind of like play on words for the episode's name, but don't delve into it too much because it also doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. That's fair. I kind of had a similar thought.
I think it's a really cool idea, and I love things that have more than one meaning, but I just think that emails...
It's a bit tenuous. Yeah. It's a bit of a tenuous link.
I feel like it could go over some people's heads.
Yeah.
Like, why is that logo in an envelope?
Yeah, that's fair. And also that is probably one of the weakest designs that I drew up on that little envelope one.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to discuss it first.
You want to get out of the way.
Yeah, and then you can talk about the positives. And
cool. Like, what is that? Like one negative and a positive kind of thing? Isn't that what people do?
They call it a shit sandwich, don't they? So,
oh, yeah.
So I probably should have started with a compliment. I did. I was like, great ideas, Jared. Okay, by the way.
Great ideas, except I was joking.
And then you...
But nice notepad.
Yeah, there you go. Shit sandwich.
Cheers, great. I feel wonderful. I feel appetizing.
Let me look at them.
Oh, you want me to give you my notebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
So how visual is your process? Because I assume as a designer it's got to be visual, but how much are you just in your head versus how much are you just like with a notepad just writing shit?
It changes.
Really?
I feel like I know I speak for lots of people when they know that the process is in their head, and then the second they have to draw it out, they just freak out.
Really?
Whereas, this is throughout the whole process at school, at university, the whole working it out is where you get the marks, where you can show people your process and have people understand where you're coming from. I work in two ways to get these ideas out of my head. I draw as quickly as I can without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because if I think about it, I hate it. Like,
yeah, right.
It doesn't matter about the quality of your work. It's just getting your idea out.
Definitely.
And because I'm a massive perfectionist, I'll be like, oh, this drawing looks rubbish, so I want to throw it away.
Yeah.
That's one process. The other process is to get so bored that you have no other choice than to come up with more ideas.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, that's because I often wonder, like, because I get to a point where a lot of my ideas come organically. Yeah. I'm not very good at like sitting down brainstorming. I'm trying to get into it because when I do it, I'm actually starting to come up with some good stuff these days. But before, I just couldn't really do it. So I think that's one of the things that comes with practice. So I got to a point where it's like, how do I come up with new ideas? If I'm not having them like in the shower or whatever, and you kind of like plateau for a little bit, don't you? Because ideas come in waves, I think. So you get to a point where you're kind of like a writer's block. You're like, how do I come up with more ideas? And you're saying, just don't do anything. Just get really bored, and it will just kind of happen. Cause I guess because your brain kind of like, when it turns off and it starts to wander, that's when stuff happens, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I used to struggle with, I'd always pursue my first idea.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's the one. But how would you know if you're not going to think of a better one if you don't think of any? So I did a placement recently, and I was pretty much just sat at a desk for 8 hours a day. And at first I was like, oh my God, I'm so bored. This is torture. But I started to just think and was coming up with some cool ideas.
Because I think, when you put yourself in a situation like cleaning, for example, I clean.
Yeah.
I often come up with some of my best ideas because my brain's just not really working.
Exactly.
It's just kind of chilling. To that point, how detrimental do you find, or do you think, like social media, phones, Netflix, YouTube has to kind of creativity as a process? Because it's kind of, there's an ebb and flow. You're getting inspired, and also there's a platform. But do you also think that because it's harder to become bored, it's kind of hard to use that creativity?
Yeah.
Especially if you're new to it. And if you're like in an academic situation and you're never really exploring creativity, how are you going to find it if you're constantly filling your time?
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely struggling with at the moment, trying to find a good balance between being inspired and being overstimulated.
Yeah.
I feel like it's good. Like I love Pinterest.
Right.
That's a good one because you're not as so involved in their life. It's just about the beauty of the image.
Yeah.
But I feel like lots of people, because of the internet and social media, their styles are too influenced by each other. Like people are going towards these trends rather than their own creative
really
thinking,
expressing themselves.
Yeah,
I think it's easy to. I do it almost subconsciously if I'm watching a particular content, whether it's TV series, for example, and there's a protagonist that I find I really connect with. I find that I start to mirror their personality to an extent, and like I mimic their humor, like the way they make jokes, the way they talk, and I kind of do it to a point where it's like, oh, I noticed that I'm doing that, and it's kind of annoying, but it just kind of happens naturally.
Yeah, I completely get it. Like, I think trends is a massive thing as well. like especially with consumerism and the design work I do at university, you see, oh well, people like that, people are going to buy that, so I'm going to take that. And it's like,
yeah,
no, because you want people to like your thing because that's new, that's different.
Yeah.
And get into their personality and mind that they haven't discovered for themselves.
That's it. Yeah, because it's easy to copy something else.
Yeah.
But you're not really challenging yourself. You're just kind of taking a star model and just using it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got to make a brand new thing, it is a challenge, definitely.
Mm.
So where are we at? What are you thinking with the logos, the artworks?
I really like the whole the whirlwind black hole thing. I think that's a great idea.
Hey, thanks, man.
I like this is the kind of thing that came into my head immediately with the different icons of a camera.
Did you picture it with like white icons as well?
No, not at all.
How did you picture that?
Mine was very colourful.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like this is, again, relating back to my degree, doing product design and things. I feel like product design is trying to be very minimal and futuristic, such like Apple products, things like that. That's not creativity to me.
Yeah.
That's quite the opposite.
It makes sense.
It's like robotic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's plain.
Yeah. Whereas
vanilla.
I feel like different colours related to different emotions, and it's all about psychology.
You find there's a lot of psychology in design work?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you learn all about that, or do you kind of just have to feel it out?
Yeah, we do. Trying to think. Yeah, there's definitely.
You can't think about that. That's fine.
So, yeah, the psychology of design and why we use things the way we do and why we reach for things. Yeah.
What's the best colour for? Because I heard that if you're a waitress, for example, or a waiter, if you wear red, like statistically, you're actually more inclined to get tips.
Really?
Yeah, it's just kind of like this association thing. I think the study, this is quite a while ago, and I don't have any sources for this. Like, it was a long time ago, so I can't fact check it now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the study was based on like women wearing red and then men tipping, because it's kind of like a sexual color, and it's kind of like they're trying to like flirt in a way, and by having that red, it associates that with them, and they want to tip more.
I think it's a very much a cultural thing, what colors mean to different cultures
that
as
makes
well.
Sense.
But yeah, it depends. I think that's.
Oh Jesus!
that's definitely something that you have to take into mind when you're choosing a color, like your target audience, what you want this product to.
It's getting serious. It's getting serious now.
What you want this product to emote to people. So, if it was like a cheerful brand, you'd maybe think yellows and bright tones and things like that. But if it was calm and serene, you'd want blues and whites and greys.
Greens?
Greens again is like natural colours, so that's good.
Sense.
Green is the easiest colour on the eye. So
really,
green's a good one.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've never really liked green that much.
Really?
Sorry, green.
Do you know what colour I really don't like?
Go ahead.
Purple.
Really, it's an obnoxious colour.
I just don't like purple.
It's trying too hard. It really is. Royal purple. Fuck off.
Although Cadbury's chocolate is a good one.
Yeah, that's true actually. So. Go ahead, Karen. Where were we?
Back on your little doodles.
So let's talk about colours in a minute, but first of all, continue with your thought process and where you're at with that.
I like this little brain drawing that you've done. Can you?
You want me to explain this? Okay, so what I've got here, I'm going to explain it, is I kind of like the idea of like almost like branching pathways.
Connection.
Yeah, that's it. Kind of like you see it like, let's talk about like an ionic bond, for example, or just a bond in any way. Let's talk about a compound, a molecular compound. I fucking don't know science anymore. Okay?
Okay.
Am I right? A molecular compound?
I don't know.
Okay.
I draw for a living.
Right. Okay. So, So how bonds work is essentially... I don't fucking know. But... I'm so out of my depth right now.
Science.
I wish I hadn't started talking. This is very uncomfortable. Okay, so what I've done is I've drawn a brain.
Yep.
And then I want to have like different like creativity like branching off of it, much like a bond.
Yeah.
So each bond is like a different creative subject. So it's using the icons again inside little circles. So it's kind of like a little flowcharty, but kind of more like angular. Like a mind map is quite like swervy. I kind of like the angular, like kind of straight lines.
Okay.
So it starts off with the brain in the middle, and then it like branches out to various different like creative things. And yeah, it's emphasizing on connection, but it's all like the idea is that creativity stems from the mind, and then it kind of like shoots off in all kinds of different like directions. And then everyone has like different ways that they reach certain things, and basically no one is kind of the same. It's just all kind of different, but it all stems from that kind of brain.
Yeah.
So that was what that idea was. You know this back now.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel
It's
like
hard to explain. Fucking
no,
bonds.
I get it, but there's different ideas stemming from that. Like I feel like a very powerful image was that of, you know, when you have the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain, and that's where creativity comes from. But I feel like
left side. Is that right?
I can't remember which way around it is. But creativity isn't just about being arty. It can be very
Problem solving.
Yeah, problem solving. That's
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that's what because initially I wanted to just go into art, but I thought I wanted something functional as well, not just something that looked pretty.
Yeah.
And that's what, yeah, I think the brain is a good.
Yeah, you think that because it kind of like adds a level like that people maybe don't associate with creativity. I feel like there's a kind of a divide between academics and creatives. I feel like it's kind of bridging that a little bit.
I hate that divide. I feel like people think that if you're academic, you're intelligent, but there's so many different forms of intelligence.
Yeah.
You can have social intelligence.
Just ticking off the ones I don't have. That's a no. Carry on.
Yeah, it's just being creative. It's just using a different part of your brain.
Definitely. It's not. Yeah, it's not like you're not intelligent because you're creative. It's just it is completely different. And, you know, you're not. Some people are intelligent, like academically and also creative. It's not like I don't know why there's like that halfway split divide between people. It's not like it's a different thing.
Yeah, I think it's very much the school system that's ingrained that into.
Definitely, the school system has been detrimental, and they're making it worse. Like school systems are really pushing academics right now. Like all the creative subjects are going. I studied majoratively. Not a word, turns out. Did you know that?
What
majoratively? I use it all the time. It's not even a word.
Oh my gosh.
The majority. Like yeah, it's. I don't know. I was shook when I found out. Like I write in emails, and it's always like a red underline. I'm like, man, I just can't spell this word. It's just not one.
I'm just dyslexic.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. I just thought majoratively was a word. But yeah, they're really like I took mainly is what you use instead of turns
okay.
I took mainly creative subjects. I did like film, media, some other things. I don't remember. But now they're like that whole like media department. It's got not much funding, but it's really smaller now, and it's all kinds of like if you want to do A levels, you kind of stuck with these academic like subjects, and I think it's a real shame. I do think it's a real shame. Like
my dad, he's not academic at all. He's not very good at reading and writing, maths, all of that academics. But give him a problem or something to fix. Yeah. Like he can fix cars. He can fit flooring, change. Like he can fix anything. It's crazy. But I would never call him stupid.
Yeah. I mean, well, look at that. How can you?
Yeah.
I can't fix a car. I barely even drive a car. So it's always a risk. But I always got. I think I got hit by the system kind of hard in that respect. I always felt like I was pretty stupid and like unintelligent when I was going through school, and I think it is a lot of that divide because I was just more creatively minded, and the system doesn't really like support or push that. Yeah. So I always felt like just because I wasn't like super quick at maths, or just because I was like a little bit too dyslexic, so I couldn't spell, that I just couldn't like. I always just felt like I was bad, but they just weren't teaching me in a way that worked with my creative mind. Yeah. So over time, I got better at academic because I learned how my brain worked. I learned how I learned better. I learned how I work, and I started to see improvements. But that wasn't because the school system. They just kind of like binned me off as someone stupid. Yeah. But they just didn't know how to teach me.
Yeah, I think people definitely need to go on like self-discovery on how they learn.
It's so
what
important.
they like and what they.
It's just like you're putting everyone in a box and then just trying to fucking tape it up.
Yeah.
But box ain't big enough.
An analogy. That was
really just lost my train of thought on that one.
It's not even like the box doesn't have enough compartments. Okay, it's just one box.
It's one box. No, square peg round hole. Everyone's got different holes. And the school system's just one big square peg.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't work for everyone.
No,
I think that people need to learn. People need to know how they need to learn, and I think teachers need to understand that. Well, I think it's changing. I think more people do. But I think they need to understand that people learn differently, and it's not just a one shoe fits all kind of situation.
Yeah. And
which would have been a better analogy.
Yeah, and don't beat yourself up if you don't learn like other people.
Definitely. No, because it turns out you actually learn way more outside of school anyway.
Yeah.
Have you learned that? You're still in school. I don't know if that counts. But since you left for uni compared to being at sixth form,
I've learned so much more from my peers. I hate that word, but my peers than my teachers.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Sure.
Because I came out of school and I was like, all right, I guess I'm done learning now.
Yeah.
But like the other day, I went back and I looked at my A-level English coursework, which A-level, it's got to be pretty good, a high standard of English. I was reading it, I was like, this is fucking awful. Like this just isn't good like anything. So at some point of the last 3 years, my English has improved despite the fact that I've not been in education. And I find that really interesting. Because I've not done anything to try and do that. It's just kind of, you just learn through life.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not emphasized either. Like it's kind of like when you finish school, you're set up for life. But you're just, every day's a school day, man.
Yeah. School's just about remembering and then reciting.
Literally.
That knowledge.
And if you've got a bad memory like I do, it's real fucking hard.
I know, like the most intelligent people I know, they've just got a really good memory.
Yeah, it's an unfair system. It absolutely is.
Intelligent in inverted commas.
Yeah, right, because we're trying to break these stereotypes right now, right? We're trying to break the stigma of intelligence and creativity.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to reinforce any of that?
No.
Okay, well, that was a good little segue. Back to the logo design. What are you thinking? The artwork design, where are we at? I like this. It's kind of like, there's back and forth. It's like logo, talk, conversation. Back to the artwork, talk. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Why did you choose red and blue in this wormhole? Going back to colours again.
So going back to for the wormhole artwork, red and blue for me is just really like aesthetically pleasing colours.
Okay, so it's nothing to do.
It's nothing to do with no kind of psychology, so we can discuss that.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with anything. I just think the contrast between them work really well, and for me they feel kind of like creative, and they kind of pop in my head. Like you can see my Beside Myself of Jared Emsee artwork, which is my radio show. It's on my desktop right now because it's my wallpaper, obviously. And even there, red and blue. We got Monday Morning Meeting, which is a show me and Adam used to do. I got a poster up there, red and blue. There's something for some reason I'm just drawn to it as colours.
So it's just a personal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a personal preference. Yeah, but I was just answering that question to the best of my ability.
That is fair enough.
What are you thinking colour-wise? Or do we need a solid idea of a design first?
Yeah,
or
I think.
Can you come up with colours before you come up with a design?
I can't really restrict it at the moment because it's about creativity. It's about covering all grounds,
You've got to
isn't
cover
it?
all bases. Look,
yeah.
I'm getting an in-depth insight to your process right now. This is good. This is what I wanted.
Okay.
Let's have a little second to think.
What other...
Collect yourself.
Did you not like that idea? Big cross through it?
Oh, yeah. That was me. Like, what if there was like a silhouette and his head was like half open so you could see his brain, and coming out of it was loads of ideas, or
you could
rather
have them like spilling
yeah
out.
I think it was kind of supposed to be that, and I was like, this just looks stupid. I didn't like it.
I mean, the drawing's quality isn't great, but I appreciate the idea. Yeah.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
I come up with ideas sometimes.
What about
that's what I do.
Two people talking?
That's pretty smart, actually.
The connection thing.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Their brains opening up and ideas flowing together.
That's kind of cute, yeah.
Because they're bouncing off each other.
I like that. I like that. That's pretty good, yeah. That kind of sums up this podcast.
Yeah.
Just like two open minds, just fucking jamming out, having creative conversations.
What's this? A chest?
Yeah, so there was like an idea, it was like a treasure chest full of stuff, but I didn't really like that. The one I like the most is the Vortex one. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So I would just initially brainstorm word association, colours, things like that. So connection, like a chain or different other things to do with connections.
Interesting.
And then creative. Like when I think of creative, I think of ideas. So like exclamation points, light bulbs.
Light bulbs.
Because it's like a
idea, I get
it.
it. I get the light bulb.
And yeah, just the different ways of being creative, like you've drawn here with the paintbrush, camera, microphone.
Yeah. So what I've done is I've really focused on the creative side. I've never even thought about adding like the connection point to the logo or the artwork. I really just like.
Well, this looks like it's all connected. The bonds.
That is true. I don't know if that was a conscious decision or not. I don't remember. I did them a while ago. But there's a fair chance that wasn't actually a conscious decision.
Works.
Well, I am that smart. I'm just that good. I do great stuff just without even having to work.
Yeah, so that's
it. So yeah, there's 2 pages. Okay, so let's start the process. So we've got a few ideas. How do you want to go about doing this, graphic designer?
Well, you've already
forgot what you called yourself.
Designer.
Sorry, I forgot it.
So you've already described it to me. There are some questions I'd like.
I got you
to ask.
Go ahead.
Can I write them down?
Write these down? Of course. Here's a pen. Wherever you need. Don't worry about my notes.
Okay, so
I'm gonna cross my legs. I'm ready. I feel like this is the most like casual interview I've ever had. Like I feel like I'm trying.
Yeah, I've turned it round. I'm interviewing you.
You have turned it around. This is unprecedented.
just that powerful.
I'm ready.
So, who is your target audience? Who would you like to be listening to your podcast?
I've split the target audience between 3 people. So there's a primary, secondary, and tertiary audience.
Mm-hmm.
The primary is like-minded creatives who are interested in like creativity and the process as a whole, as kind of like a full-blown thing. So all creative industries, people are interested in that, because I think creativity is interesting as a whole. I think the process is interesting, and everyone is so different. Everyone has such a different process that I think it's like really fun to talk about, and also everyone gets so excited about it.
Yeah.
Like when people are talking about what they're passionate about, people get so excited. It's just really enjoyable to hear and to talk to. So that's kind of who I think will want to listen to it.
So people that can relate to it already, and like, that's me, or oh my god, I should try that. Technique.
And it's also like people listen to it, get inspired by their own ideas, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you have this, but when I have a new idea, I love to bounce it off another creative person and like, talk to them about it, because it's just like that bounce back and listening to another person's thoughts, and I feel like I'm trying to kind of recreate that for just like a global audience.
Yeah.
So that's the primary audience. The secondary audience is people are interested in the guests that are on here. So this is a little bit more ambiguous, but for example, if I had a big following or something and I went on another podcast, there would potentially be people that wanted to just listen to me talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that depending how this goes, let's say Sam, for example, people might want to listen to what Sam has to say because it's Sam and they follow Sam.
Yeah.
So I think as this podcast goes on and we start to get bigger and bigger people, there'll be people that want to just listen to a single episode just so they can talk, like hear about that process, for example. So that's kind of like a secondary audience. And the tertiary audience is actually just people interested in like a specific industry. So that is in a similar way, they're going to kind of pick and choose. But for example, if I did every episode with a comedian, they're really interested in about that industry and they're interested in how to start up, for example, or kind of what it looks like on the inside. So they might listen to all of those to kind of get that inside knowledge. So those are kind of 3 main audience. In terms of gender, I think it should be a 50-50 split. The guests are, I'm getting both men and female on. I don't think that me hosting it should have any effect on who's more inclined to listen to it. I think it's pretty open, it's pretty gender neutral. I don't know if that's a good thing in terms of like target audience, but that's kind of how I see it. And age wise, I think that's hard because I want it to be as big as possible. But I think the creative industry, I think it's probably more inclined to be a younger audience.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's not necessarily what I want, but I think that's just realistic because that's kind of, as younger people, we're kind of pushed more into creativity than our older generation.
I don't think it's necessarily that we're pushed. I think it's
we're able to.
We're kind of fighting against
the system.
The system.
Yeah. But I just think there's more opportunities as well. With the advent of the internet, for example.
Yeah. Very
So
true.
I think we're just more inclined to be a little bit more creative. We have the possibility, whereas other generations they were kind of forced into the system that we're trying to get out of. So I think that's just going to happen. I think it's probably going to fall into realistically like a 16 to maybe like 32-year-old audience. That's kind of just a vague number that I've just come up. But
very specific numbers.
Yeah. But I think that's probably a realistic shout.
Yeah.
For the kind of audience that will listen to it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But I really want it to be as accessible by everyone. Regardless, because I think that's a big thing for me. Like trying to make it super accessible to listen to.
Cool. I already kind of know the answers to this, but
you know me so well.
What kind of feel are you trying to give off? Like, it's hard to explain without me putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, right.
Rather, like, is it formal? Is it educational? Is it...
Now that is a tricky one. It's not formal. It's not formal at all. It's creative, which isn't an opposite of formal, but I feel like it's a little different. Like, for example, if I go to a wedding, you can wear a formal suit, or you can wear what I call a creative suit, which is
that's
black
true.
jeans.
Just because it's not...
Yeah.
Just because it's not formal doesn't mean it's informal.
Exactly.
It can just be...
Yeah, so I consider it formal, but it's more creative. It's like you wear like a proper suit shirt and then a suit tie, but like black jeans and like high top black trainers. I think it's a look. I would say it's an absolute look, but I would call it a creative suit. So I used to wear when I did the business stuff. Sometimes I'd wear a formal suit, just for your reference. What was the question?
Like, what kind of feel, like keywords?
Excited.
Like exciting.
Yeah, I want people to be excited, interesting, exciting. Creative is obviously a massive keyword.
Yeah.
Interesting is probably a better word than I think educational, but insightful actually is not a bad shout.
Yeah.
Because I want people to be like, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And people, if they learn from it, that's great. Like if they learn about the industry, that's awesome. If they learn about the processes, that's great. But I think people should be excited and interested in it.
Motivational.
Yeah, I've never thought about it, but I think objectively it probably is motivational to hear about other people doing cool shit.
Yeah.
I never thought of it, but yeah.
Motivational.
I love being a motivational podcast. I can't wait to put myself on all of the lists, like for the keywords. So when you like
hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Humor.
Witty banter.
Jeez.
I don't think that's a category in iTunes yet.
It's like comedy. Would you call this comedy or?
I don't know, man. It's not like objectively comedy, but
we're just having a great laugh.
Yeah, like I consider myself
a fun guy.
Yeah, not like a fun guy. Yeah, I consider myself a fun guy. I don't know. I think I use comedy a lot in terms of my just everyday conversations, like icebreakers, just having fun, a coping mechanism when I'm freaking the fuck out. Definitely. But I don't know if I'd say it's a comedy podcast, but if it's funny, then that's great. I'd like it to be funny, and entertaining, but that's not a priority. I would rather it's more interesting than it is entertaining in terms of humor. Entertaining.
Now I'm just thinking of like genres, like entertainment, lifestyle.
Dude, I don't know what genre this goes in. I have no idea. I need you to tell me.
I don't know. I'd say entertainment, but also like educational.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it is in the comedy genre at the moment, but I think I need to change that because I've not released it yet. But I had this dilemma. I was like, what the fuck? What do I put this in?
Yeah.
So I'll change it to entertainment. I think that's smart.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? Did you just write Does that say
This is motivational.
Oh,
My handwriting,
cool handwriting
is atrocious.
I hear that.
That does look like it said. Stop distracting me.
Carry on. Lead this interview. I'm ready. Do you have any more questions?
No, not currently. I might
Okay.
come back to you if
So what's next
anything
then?
clicks.
So we've discussed like the product. I've given you a few ideas. You've kind of got a better idea of what it wants to look like.
Yeah.
Well, what would you do next? Or what will we do next?
What shall we do next?
Because this is real time fucking happening right now.
Right. So, shall we? Going off your initial ideas.
Yeah.
Shall we come up with some new ideas?
You want to come up with some new ideas?
Yeah.
All right.
So
How would you do that?
how do you feel about this whole quite literal artwork in that it's a creative connection?
I think it works.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So should we do a little mind map of what words you'd associate with creative, what words you'd associate with connection?
Yeah, that's my map. So words that's associated with creative. So words that I'd associate with creative. That's actually kind of tricky.
Or just
Because it's not a very like literal thing in terms of like words.
not necessarily words, but like
Things.
Things, yeah, just things.
Cameras.
And stuff. Cameras.
Because that's kind of what I work with.
Yeah.
Microphones.
Yeah.
I've had like a paintbrush. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
A pencil is quite a good one for like drawing and shit. I had CD, but I don't know if that's a little archaic. I just needed more stuff to like draw.
Yeah.
Music, like guitars and shit. That's creative.
Music.
I'm gonna really like cock some industries here, just not know it. Sorry, guys. What else is creative?
I find it really difficult concept to grasp, but people can be creative in things that aren't creative.
Minecraft.
No, that I think that
No,
is
that
creative.
is creative. Sorry.
But like, say, if you just did like Excel, you could use that in a creative way. But people would think, oh, working on documents.
That does make sense. However, I don't think we should have an Excel spreadsheet as one of these pictures.
No, very true. But it's maybe something to discuss in the future. People who aren't in a creative field, but would call themselves a creative, and maybe why is that? Like, what differentiates them from the people that just
maybe I'm
not creative.
Putting quote unquote creatives on a pedestal here, and I need to fucking take it back a step and realize that everyone's creative minded.
Yeah, like back in GCSEs when we were doing the subjects that weren't creative,
I love that.
I would always find a way to make it creative.
Really?
And
Me too, but and by that I mean I just sit on Photoshop and do something else.
I'd always make my homework a very visual thing.
Yeah, I did the same thing when I was I used to do like videos and like animations in my homeworks.
And mum would be like, why do you always turn everything into an art project?
Because you love it. You live and breathe it.
Yeah, that's how I learn, like, to make it creative. But you're still learning maths. You're still learning geography.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I did the same thing. Like all my projects would be like animations or videos or silly like PowerPoint presentations with loads of like pictures and animations and stuff.
What is the definition of creative? Like, is it doing things differently, or
I can find out.
Yeah.
Does anyone know where I put my phone?
Maybe we should have done this at the beginning. Like, what is
maybe
creativity?
I should have done it before I started this endeavor. more than anything, I think. What did you say? Definition of creative?
Or creativity, yeah.
Creativity?
I don't know.
I do creativity.
Are they synonymous?
The use of imagination or original ideas to create something.
Okay.
So imagination.
Yeah.
Like that could be quite like a cool little. I think that's quite easy to symbolize, isn't it? Imagination.
Yeah, like the whole thought bubble thing.
It's quite a classic little thought bubble going on.
Yeah. So I thought then, like, the thought bubble is very much the creative, and a speech bubble is the connection.
Whoa.
So they
You want
could,
to fucking portmanteau those together?
so they could kind of be a little something.
Hello, someone. Hello, someone. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do I write that down?
Write it down, dude. You're a designer. You got some ideas in your brain. I love that. I love that a lot. I'm curious about colours still. I'm really excited about colours for some reason.
Yeah? Colours excite me too.
Do they?
Mm.
It must be great being a designer, isn't it? It'd be so great.
Yeah, I feel like colours can get you out of a rut. Like, it sounds silly, but people that very much stick to like black and white and very formal things, they need a little bit of colour in their life.
You mean like outfits, or do you actually mean design stuff?
I didn't.
Because that sounds like outfits to me.
Just life.
Just, yeah, right. So if I wore like a black clothes every day and I was feeling a bit down, and then I fucking got a bright orange shirt,
you're just going to be a happier person.
It makes sense. I mean, it's more vibrant.
Yeah.
It's more exciting.
Yeah.
And it probably make other people a bit happier as well.
Yeah. I mean, my uni course mates probably wouldn't be very happy with that.
Really?
They like black outfits.
I try not to wear all black, but I can't help the facts. I do look better in black than anything else. You know? It is an issue.
Ninja.
Yeah. I wish I was a ninja so bad. That's my aspiration. Okay, so we got the speech bubble. How would you portray that, though? The speech bubble into spoken thought bubble?
I don't know. I just thought something like
half and half kind of thing.
No, that's not even how you draw.
So Ella is currently
and then like
drawing
crossed over in some way, like CC. I don't know.
It's pretty cool.
That's
pretty cool. Okay, so there's an idea. What else? So we're looking at words that are synonymous with connection right now. Is that correct?
Yep. So
telephones. It's a bit shit, but you know it's connective. It's 2018. Come on. You said a chain earlier. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What else is connection? Like a long like rope. Or is a rope connective? I think it is.
So we're all obviously doing this off the top of our head.
Yeah.
When I do this process on my own, I do a lot of research. So
really?
On the internet, books, talking to other people, as you say, like, oh, what would you say comes up?
Yeah.
In this. So yeah, so if you just like Google or Pinterest keywords and see what other things come up, or like use a thesaurus.
Okay. A thesaurus, that's interesting. I'm thinking on that note, maybe we should pack this up and then let's hypothetically talk about the process a little bit more. How much further do you think we can get with this design right now? Or do you think it's worth doing this in a minute and just like let's talk about the process a little bit more? What do you reckon? Because I don't know what your process is. What would come next after this mind map?
So
like draft designs?
I would take some of these ideas,
yeah,
and draw various designs, and you being the client, ask you what you like, which is pretty easy. You might not know why you like something,
right?
But I can ask you questions that will make you think about why you like something. Yeah, and just slowly refine these ideas until it's something that the client likes.
Do you find you might be able to talk about this. Do you find you sometimes get like kickback with clients being like they don't like something that is just good and they try and make you make something that's shit? Because I had that a lot when I worked in corporate. Yeah,
definitely. It's like, but I also struggle with people that don't really know what they want.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's like,
is that more frustrating, do you think?
Yeah, because there's so many avenues that you can go down. Yeah. You're like, I don't even know. I know that that's probably some people's dream, but I want to make the client happy. I want to give them what they want, and if they don't know what they want, and then I give them something, and they're like, it's like, I didn't get any help from you.
That's really frustrating. I can imagine. Yeah.
I don't know. You're not you're not telling me what you want, so how am I meant? Not
I
clairvoyant.
kind of like that.
Do you?
Yeah, because I like having creative control.
Yeah.
And I find, I think it's useful to have someone who's like, I want this, this, and this. But also I kind of like the idea of, I'm going to make something and you're going to like it, but I can kind of do whatever I want. But I know you're going to like it when I'm finished.
I guess because I'm very versatile. Like I've never developed my own style, which is something I've struggled with.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because I think because I enjoy so many different creativities.
Creativities.
So like I like painting, textiles, as we've discussed. So yeah, I just like trying different styles and seeing what I'm good at. But I feel like personally that can be a bad thing sometimes because I don't know, I think it's just quite cool when someone has a definitive style, like, oh yeah, that's so Ella.
Yeah.
But
that's something that comes with time though.
But again, like working for other people and producing things that they want, that's a good thing that you don't have a style, because you can do it for their style. Yeah,
that's right, because it's frustrating if you have a style that they don't like.
Yeah.
Because like you try and do this, you think it looks really cool, and then they're just like, no, this isn't what I want.
Yeah.
But you're like, it's sick though. They're like, yeah, that's fine, but I don't want it. That's pretty much a frustrating situation. So, okay. That's annoying. So, you've come up with some ideas now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to work out your process in your head. So you've come up with some ideas, and the client is being pretty good about it. So after you've drafted a few, would you then go to the client and be like, this is what I'm thinking? Or would you?
Definitely. It's all about communication.
Really?
You can't, and it depends, you just got to read the client, because sometimes.
More psychology.
So I could come up to you with just like you've come to me with these just scribbles.
Yeah.
Some people would be like.
Some people would call it art.
Sorry. Some people would be like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Can you? I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But and then other people would need like a complete render of what you actually mean before they can visualize it.
Right.
So it's just all about reading.
So everyone's kind of different.
Yeah. But what you really want is a client that can understand where you're coming from, just from minimal drawings and you describing it. Because what you don't want to do is get so far into the process and then say, I don't like it. That's why you need the communication. All
right.
Steps.
That'd be super frustrating. Definitely. Okay, so they've all cleared a project, for example. What's next?
You've cleared a product.
Yeah, you've shown them a draft. They've all cleared it. They're like, I like that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
What comes next? Because you haven't done the final design yet. This is just still like a draft picture you've given them.
Yeah. So then it depends on what it is. So we're talking.
You go ahead.
We're talking about this graphic design that we'd be doing.
Let's go with the graphic design, yeah. So I'm like, this is sick. Let's fucking go for this one. What do you then do?
Make it.
Okay. How does that start? What are you thinking? The beginning of your process. How are you dealing with that? So you've got the idea. You've Pinterested. You've got some cool ideas. Yeah,
I'd probably present to you like a whole mood board with like a color palette and other similar images.
Because we've done this actually.
Yeah.
Because we worked on a logo before.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this. I know what you do firsthand. You've done it. Okay, so you've presented me a mood board.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Similar imagery to what I have in mind, like with colorways and things like that, typefaces and all that, and just gauge off of you what you like and what you gear towards. And then as far as making it goes, it all depends on what it is. I use Illustrator a lot.
Yeah, that is confusing when you do so much, I guess.
Yeah, and then
really delve into that process particularly.
I always make sure to reference images to make sure it's realistic.
Really?
Yeah, lots of people think that being creative is about drawing things from your mind, like, oh, you know how to draw a bike.
Yeah, right.
No, you're allowed to copy a photograph of a bike. It's all about where you place that bike. like what kind of style you've drawn the bike in.
Yeah, that makes
Colours
sense
and
to me.
things.
That makes sense to me. So, I guess the biggest thing when it comes to creative processes is like the ideas and stuff. And we touched upon that a little bit, but how do you actually develop ideas? Like, how do you come up with ideas? Well, we discussed that you try and like get bored, but how does that start? Like, I mean, like, I really just want to know, if you need to come up with ideas, what are you doing to do that?
It's a really hard question to answer because I don't actively think I need to come up with ideas. I just,
because like, for example, you mentioned earlier when I was like, this is my product, I want to do this, this and this, you'd already started thinking, like it just kind of came. So I guess that is the answer.
Yeah, I think people's brains just work in different ways.
You just kind of need a bit of stimuli.
Yeah.
And it kind of just happens. You don't really need to work on coming up with brand new ideas.
I sound like such a snob if I say
that.
No,
I said it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So you've got quite like a visual mind, which I suppose makes sense because you are.
I actually, this is a fun fact.
Go ahead.
I don't actually have a mind's eye. So do you know?
What the fuck does that mean?
So
what a pretentious statement.
No, a mind's eye is say close your eyes and visualize a yellow circle. I can't see anything in my head.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm the same.
Yeah. And my boyfriend's the same as well. He doesn't.
Really?
And when I told him that, he like freaked out. He's like, "Oh my god, I can't see things. I can't see things."
Can't see a circle either. I'm the same, but there is a point where I can get there. So this is something that I do, which I've got to a point in my life where it's like, if I do it, I just assume that everyone does it, because I've always seen like comedians do it all the time. They make an observation that I thought was just me, and I'm like, oh, everyone does that.
Yeah.
So I got to the point where I'm like, okay, this is everyone.
Yeah.
So there's a state of mind that I can get into. I call it the dream trance, right? It's like everything's.
Oh, I'm pretentious because I said
everything's.
No.
I did this when I was a kid. Everything's got to have a cool name.
Okay.
What it is I think it's like the step before. It's kind of like a meditation. For me, it's like the step before going to sleep. So I sit down, I close my eyes, and I concentrate. I got to take like 10 minutes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to a point, I don't really explore it that much when I'm coming up with ideas, but I should. But I get to a point where I can visualize things really clearly, and I can access memories and stuff, and I can see them. Like I can see stuff, and I can like come up with ideas, and I can just work off stuff. But it's a really visual. So I guess it is the mind's eyes.
Yeah.
And it's something I've always been able to do, and I've used it when I've like, if I lose something, I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking step back and try and relocate it, and I can just kind of see.
I'm going
shit
to go into my dream trance and find where I lost my keys.
I need to enter my dream state. Calm down. I think I said trance actually. Dream trance. Did I say?
Yeah, I said that.
Oh. Fuck.
Your hand was like.
Yeah. So that's actually something that I should probably use more. But when I'm just like right now, if I close my eyes, it's just darkness.
Yeah.
But I assume everyone does that. I think it is just like half asleep. Like when you go into sleep, you can visualize things way easier, I imagine. I can. Like
it's bizarre because the way I think of things, it's like it's being narrated in my head, the ideas.
Yeah, I think that's the same as me as well.
Yeah. It's because like, well, I know what, just because I can't see it, I know what a strawberry looks like. It's red with little dots on it. And that's kind of how my ideas work.
I feel like for me, I always describe my brain as like brain fog. Like I know it's there, but I can never really like see anything or understand. It's just kind of like foggy and misty inside there. Like trying to like everything I say isn't pre-calculated. It just comes off the top of my head because I can't see anything in there. I just open my mouth and it happens.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I know, like people are like, you're always thinking of something, and I'm like,
You'd be surprised.
Sometimes I'm just not there. It's nothing.
Right. It's just like emotionally and physically checked out. Your body just kind of like glazed over.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting.
That was a tangent.
So would you not consider yourself as like a visual thinker? You just wouldn't. You just like, I'm just a thinker.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. So when I said about this is what I want, and you're like, I've got ideas already, what does that look like?
It doesn't look like anything.
Right.
Because there's no imagery there.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I could put these shapes here and that there and
really?
those colours there.
For me, that sounds like that's quite a logistical way of thinking.
Yeah, which is why I struggle with the concept of me being a creative, because I feel like do things step by step.
Are you really like organised in your day-to-day life?
I can be.
You can. What does that mean? What does that mean? You can be
when I'm not being lazy.
right. Okay.
I'm very organised, and I feel like I'm
like. Is your room like perfect? Like where you stay? Is that like everything's in that perfect position?
not always. It has to be perfect if I'm doing work.
Right.
But if I'm relaxing, I'm like, don't put strain on yourself.
Yeah.
Just.
I think that's good. Because so what I'm hearing is it sounds like everything you do is really like systematic. The way you think is really systematic. The way your process is like systematic, and to the point where this process you're telling me, I imagine you stick to it like exactly the same way every time. Is that right? You're like, this is it. I got to do it this way, this way, this way.
I'd say more or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to do things differently, and I'm very much still learning the best way to.
Yeah.
To.
Yeah, well, everyone's learning, man. I don't think anyone's got a perfect process.
No.
And if they do, hit me up because I need it.
But I try to like get as many ideas out as possible. Like before I ever write an essay, I'm like, okay, write notes on everything that you could possibly cover.
Yeah.
And then take it from there.
That's really smart. I think that, and again, super logistical. Whereas me, this was like a super detrimental part of school, and changing this had such amazing effects in terms of my results. I let creativity take over, and I just kind of let the brain wander. So nothing is like concise or conclusive. Everything is just always segueing into something else, because that's just kind of how creativity works. It is just always branching off and evolving, which isn't great for like an essay, for example, because it needs to be contained. It needs to be conclusive to actually be good. So learning to plan essays, for example, changed like my life in terms of school. Like it had such a big effect on my results, because what I was writing actually was structured and made sense. But it was learning to explore that avenue, which I never really had done before, because my brain just didn't really work systematically like that.
Yeah, I feel like still being at university and school and for clients, there's a checklist that you have to make sure that you've done this so you get this grade, or you do this so it makes them happy, blah blah blah. As long as that's there, the creativity is within those steps.
Yeah,
it's a balance.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to talk about, so I think the process, is there anything you want to add on about your process as a whole, by the way? I think we're pretty much there.
No, I think we've covered.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned this before we started earlier, and it's something I really related to. You consider yourself somewhat of a perfectionist, but you think that's actually detrimental in terms of you creating.
100%.
And that's because you're scared to do it. You're scared to do it in case it's not as good as you think it's going to be.
Yeah. I struggle with with a balance of thinking, oh, I'm really good at this, I can do this, and being a perfectionist in that I'm never going to be as good as I think that I can be. So I don't even try sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that I'm trying to get over.
Is that a fear? Is the reason you're not trying because you're scared, or is it just because you feel like there's no point?
Is that not the same thing?
I don't think so. It might be the same thing. I don't think it's the same thing. Because being scared is more like, I don't want to fail. If I try and I fail, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Not being bothered is more like, I know I'm not going to do it anyway, so who cares?
I think it's the first.
Yeah.
And then as a coping mechanism, I'm like, I don't care anyway. I don't need to do it.
Like back at school, like primary school, when someone's like, I want to come to your party, and then you're like, no, I can't. And they're like, I don't want to come anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, sure. You go through like a juvenile response.
Yeah. I don't want to draw.
I don't even like drawing.
I don't care if I didn't make the best drawing I can make.
I like covalent bonds anyway. So interesting.
Yeah.
I have exactly the same thing. Mine is definitely fear. I think big. I always think a lot bigger than I can do, because I don't know if you know this, I'm very optimistic as a person. I always have been, but it's not always great, because I come up with these cool big ideas and then they're too big for me, or at least I think they're too big for me. It's not even that they are, it's that I'm too scared to try in case it doesn't live up to expectation. And I'm kind of scared of that failure, not from a point of an external response, but from an internal response. Because if I fail myself, I know that I'll be like disappointed and annoyed. But it's not even that I'm scared of people will be like, oh, you're a failure. It's literally just me. I don't want to think that about myself. So I'm always quite scared when it comes to these bigger projects. Like even this, like starting this, I was like nervous. Like before I started the first podcast, I was like, this is a big project. I'm really like nervous. I'm really like, what if this isn't good? What if it's not entertaining? What if no one likes it? What if it's shit? I'm just not going to release it. What if I don't do anything? I don't want to do anything. What if no one wants to bring the guests and I just fucking freak out?
Then you just need like a bit of perspective. Like one of my best friends is always like, he always puts himself back into place. He's like, nobody actually cares that much. Don't like, just do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Like,
do you find that helps though?
It's okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm a big worrier, and sometimes I just need to be like, it's okay.
Just chill
like,
out.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna judge you. You're not gonna get hurt. You're okay.
It's just good advice for all creators out there. So do you think that has it affected you in a super negative way, or is it just something you're aware exists inside you?
What, the whole not doing something?
Yeah.
It does affect me, because I know that I enjoy making things, and when I've made something good, I'm so proud of myself, and I'm like, yes, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But now, like, trying to get into that and forcing myself to do it's kind of like a chore.
Yeah.
And I don't want the things I enjoy doing to be a chore.
Right. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
I'm still
trying
learning.
To work it out.
Yeah.
Have you done anything that you think's helped so far? Or is it's just still playing it by ear?
I feel like I do still create and do things I enjoy. But it depends on my mood. So if I'm in a good mood and I'm liking it, then I'll do it. But you can't always rely on whether you're motivated or in the mood. You need to just do it.
Definitely. And I think that is a big problem for myself and potentially other creatives, is because it is such a kind of like a mindset that isn't always, for me, it's not always there, but it is. But you don't always feel inspired.
Yeah.
But if you want to really crush it at this game, you've got to like put yourself into that and not wait for the motivation to hit.
Yeah.
Just try and force yourself to work, because it will flow. Like as soon as you're doing it, this is something I've been thinking about for a while. I think creativity breeds creativity. So even just the act of getting yourself to do it, I think it's going to put you in a better mindset and kind of give you motivation.
I think my motivation comes from external things. Like if I go to a gallery and I see some amazing artwork, I'm like, oh my god, I want to create. Or if I talk to someone creative or watch a TV program, I'm just like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're sat on your own and thinking about things and on social media all the time, you're just like, what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah.
You've just got to be positive and motivated, and
I think it's especially hard when you're watching other people, because YouTube, if you're watching someone on YouTube, chances are they're successful, which means they're good at what they do, and it means everything they pump out is impressive, which puts a massive pressure on you. For example, being like, how is everything they do so good when sometimes I fail? Why don't these guys fail?
But you don't see that side of them.
Exactly. It's you're just seeing the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
And I think that could potentially play a part in it.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, I think also just self-confidence.
Yeah.
Is probably more than anything. Like me, not feeling confident in my own ability is a massive downfall, and potentially unwarranted, because I'm not anything special, but I'm not bad. I don't think I've, like, if I sat down and I looked at something I made like yesterday, I don't think I'd be like, this is bad.
No, yeah, I completely relate.
Yeah.
Struggle with the whole, I can do this, and then I can't do this.
That's it. It's just the kind of, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm good enough to do. I don't think anyone's going to like it. I don't think I'm going to like it. You just got to just suck it up and do it. you're better than you think you are. You're not going to get better if you don't do it.
Yeah.
I think that's the main takeaway is if you don't think you're good enough to do it, and then you don't do it, you're never going to be good enough.
Yeah, that is very true.
Obviously, you're never going to be good enough. If you don't think you're going to be good enough, you do it, and then you're not good enough, who cares? You're one step closer. You've put yourself through the process. You're one step closer to being good enough. The next thing you make is going to be better because of it.
Yeah. I think lots of people who have this kind of mindset, they think that everybody else that is doing it is confident. No, they've got the same mindset, but they're just pushing through it. They're
just getting on with it. They're just making it happen because they know that they have to.
Yeah.
They know it's the only way to improve, the only way to make themselves be seen is just to get on with it and create.
Yeah, like I know a lot of my course mates struggle with confidence, but
it's hard because also it's so like personal. So much of the creative outlook is really personal stuff. You're really pulling in from your emotions and stuff. So it's kind of like putting yourself out there for everyone to see. So there's like a whole nother layer of confidence. It's like, do I want to show everyone this right now? It's just like another thing just to add on top of it.
Yeah.
Super vulnerable position.
Yeah, especially if you think, I could have done better, and you're like, but I still need people to see this.
It's hard, man. It's tricky stuff.
Deep.
I feel like that was a good way to end the podcast. What do you think?
Yeah.
You anything you want to add?
I just think, we need to believe in ourselves. That's what everybody needs to just.
I completely agree. You're good enough. You're worthy. You're sick at what you do. That's at you, but mainly to the audience. But take that in as well, Ella. I agree. You're sick at what you do.
Thank you very much.
You're worthy. You're good enough. You're on Creative Connection podcast. And if that doesn't mean anything, then it doesn't mean anything.
So be it.
Exactly. That's fine.
Life is short.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Do you want people to find you?
Yeah. Instagram.
Yeah.
Seviour Design.
Seviour. Yeah. Just to not Seviour.
Nope,
Seviour. Seviour Design at Instagram. All right. That's perfect. Thanks for coming on. I've enjoyed it.
It was a very nice chat.
Yeah. I'm busting for a wee.
I need a sip of water.
Okay, cool. And there we have it, my conversation with Ella. Man, I enjoyed it. A little while after this, we started talking about Instagram as a whole, and how I felt that maybe she should be pushing out like a not even so much business, but more of like an arty Instagram rather than her current one, which is quite public. So we started talking about that, and she was like quite down for the idea. She tried it before, but I don't know, she wasn't like super happy with it. But so we started talking about that a little bit, and we came up with like this identity. So go follow that Instagram as well, and that's at From Studio Ella. Okay, so that's From Studio Ella. That's kind of the brand that she settled for, Studio Ella. And it's kind of like, here's my sign off from Studio Ella. So I think that's quite exciting. So I think you should go follow that, especially if you're interested in graphic design and kind of like artisticness and design as a whole. Because I know that she wants to do quite a lot of that stuff on there. Conversation, man, really riveting though. I really liked it towards the end when we started getting a little bit deeper and kind of into our own psychology and creativity. I've always felt like this kind of fear of failure, and it's not just with like creative projects, it's kind of with everything. Like when I ran the company that I ran before doing all of this, I was scared to start that because I was scared to fail. And when it comes to releasing a project that I'm too nervous for, because I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to live up to what's in my own mind, what I can see, what I can picture, what I want it to be. And I never really, until this conversation, I never really thought about it in this much depth. And I think that the as I said, the answer, not even so much the answer, but the very act of doing it, despite that fear, regardless of the outcome, is pushing you forward and getting you closer to the goal, and you're getting better and better every time. And then, yeah, you'll always have that fear of failure, but you'll be better off for just keeping trying, really, keep on grinding. And that's something that I never really thought about, but I guess I kind of subconsciously knew, because despite this fear of failure, I still try and push stuff out, but I think it's a lot slower. Like, there's one project that I've been sitting on for a very long time. I think I came up with the idea like a year ago, and I was scared it wasn't going to be good. But we got like a logo for it. I had like a treatment. I just was sitting. I needed to record a pilot, and I was kind of nervous about recording this pilot. And so finally, a couple of months ago, I went out there and I filmed this pilot. And my thoughts like came true. The pilot, it wasn't a success. I didn't enjoy it. Well, it's not that I didn't enjoy it, but I don't think it came out well. It kind of didn't live up to expectation, and in that sense, I failed. And then I got to the cutting room, which is a very pretentious way to say I sat on my computer and started editing it. And I saw it. I watched back the failure of this pilot, and I was disheartened. I was kind of sad about it. I was like, this sucks. And I didn't actually finish editing it because I don't know if that's because I'm scared of it, because I feel like at this point it's already failed in my head, and maybe I should go and edit that because maybe it hasn't failed, maybe I'm just being over dramatic. But kind of the takeaway I got wasn't that this project's rubbish, I need to just stop. The takeaway I had from that experience was, oh, okay, I need to try again. This pilot, it's not lived up to expectation, but that's fine because I can go out and do it again. So this conversation did get a little bit deep, but it was super interesting. Keep on doing your bestest, okay? I think I said it. You're great. You're perfect. You got it all. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget this is, I think I said won't forget, which isn't a real thing. Don't forget this is a pilot season, okay? What that means is after the season, there won't be any more unless people are listening. So I need you to go ahead and I need you to like and review it or whatever on your podcast app. I need you to tell all your friends, tell them all. 5 stars, 5 stars. We need this to go as big as possible. Share it on Instagram, share it on Twitter, and then we can hopefully come back for season 2, and hopefully it's going to be video, and that's going to be so sweet, so damn dank. That's kind of the goal, but we need people to be listening. Okay, I leave it to you. Have fantastic weeks. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Really just completely switched the tone, and I regret it thoroughly. I failed. I should have been scared to say that fart joke. It was just not okay. Well, I'm done here. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.